All right, this article. I have a paywall thing here. That's no good. It's from the BBC. Oh, no, I already did this. Give me one moment here as I clear this up. And the headline is "The Man Whose Genome You Can Find and Read." Actually, they changed the headline. So now it's "Why the Human Genome Was Never Completed." Which is interesting because, we thought the Human Genome Project ended, 2002, 2003, something like that? Well, let's hear more about it here. Before the end of 2023, you should be able to read something remarkable. It will be the story of a single individual, who they are and where they come from, and it will offer hints about what their future holds. It probably won't be the most entertaining read on first glance, and it will be very, very long. But it will be a seminal moment. The publication online of the entire genome of a human being, end to end, with no gaps. At this point, you may feel that you have heard this before. Surely the human genome was published decades ago. Isn't that all done? It was, in fact, never finished.
What? That seems like we've been lied to by the scientific establishment. Yeah.
The first draft of the human genome was released in 2001, but then 9/11 hit and... No, I'm just kidding. Before the consortium of international scientists in the Human Genome Project announced that they had completed, in quotes, the job with a finished sequence in 2003. Assembled from chunks of various people's DNA, this became the quote-unquote reference sequence against which all other human DNA could be compared. It was certainly the best that could be done at the time, but had major gaps and errors. Later releases improved on it, but many of the problems persisted. Only in the last few years has technology advanced to the point that it is possible to read the entire human genome without gaps and with minimal errors. But these have all been composites using DNA drawn from multiple individuals. This year, for the first time, the entire genome of a single human being, a man named Leon Peshkin, is due to be released. Leon the lion. The lion DNA. This complete single human genome will be a monumental technological achievement. Only 70 years have passed since the double helix structure of DNA was first revealed. Yeah, see, I don't like that because, the DNA strand, the double helix, that was there before we discovered it.
It was revealed.
It was revealed. It's like, okay, but it was there. Thanks in part to a grainy black and white image taken by Rosalind Franklin, transforming our understanding of how genetic information is stored. Today, we have the capability to read the entire genetic textbook that makes a person unique. But the geneticists involved say it is also a beginning, not an end. They now want to sequence the genome of people from around the world to build up a true picture of our species' genetic diversity. Are you telling me all that 23andMe stuff was a scam? Yeah, Ancestry.com is all a scam? It's not going to be official till it's on the blockchain. They want to understand what the previously unsequenced sections of DNA are doing, and they want to roll out end-to-end genome sequencing in clinics to help doctors diagnose and treat us when we get sick. Oh, how are we going to treat you if we don't have the whole genome, this whole sequenced genome? In short, the human genome will never be complete. We will never be done reading it.
What?
Then it goes into the history of the whole genome project and everything else, which is I think most people are familiar with the how it's come to be and where it is now in terms of all this genetic stuff. So here's a theme that I've been developing as I write or try to compile what either will be Age of Deceit 4 or maybe some shorter Age of Deceit shorts or something, and something where it's a little more compact. But I've been writing and trying to compile my thoughts about the various levels of surveillance. So and what I'm going to do is contextualize it in the sense of, hey, God is omnipresent. He's omnipotent. He can see everything. But there's this counterfeit, and in the fallen world, they're trying to create the same sort of omnipotent machine or whatever. And there's various levels of surveillance that takes place, whether it's physical, aerial, but I think genetic surveillance is going to become a thing.
Of course.
And I'm in the film or the video, once it all comes together, I'll talk about ledgers and how it comes from the ideas of crypto ledger and stuff like that, but also keeping track of our own ledger, our own genetic data, and only sharing parts of it that need to be. It's going to become just a crazy, wild world. And this breakthrough here that they're talking about, that's like the whole genome of one man. This is where I think things are going to get very interesting as more people decide to get their whole genome sequenced and have a copy of it or whatever. It's going to be interesting to see if the genome of a person will be open source or if there's going to be privacy involved or how's this going to operate. And it will inevitably, if we're just kind of looking ahead as where this could go, it's going to get to the point where royalty, bloodlines, certain ethnicities, maybe, all that will be transparent in a sense. It'll be open source. So there won't be any question about who maybe has the rightful heir, from some ancient times that they carry the genetics of whoever. So I just think it's an interesting development. And the systematic, I don't know, it's kind of like a bait and switch. It almost feels like, because all the money that was poured into this project and saying it's done, but it was more of like a Frankenstein, like a compiled thing. It wasn't even real. Very similar to kind of the space pictures. You don't really get a full picture. You get the patched together with multiple pictures, CGI, cleaned up.
That's a very interesting comparison. We know we've taken a picture of the human genome in the same way that we've taken a picture of the Earth, in that we haven't, except for piecing it together. Pieces,
and we can piece it together. So, I just think it's an interesting development. I think that we're headed towards those weird things that I'm talking about there. And again, I'll flesh it out better in the video. But and isn't it interesting that in this post-COVID time is when this type of thing starts coming out? And I had a whole CRISPR segment that we dropped for the episode, but basically CRISPR is becoming mainstream. Motley Fool is telling people to buy CRISPR stock. You have Dr. He from China, the guy who did CRISPR on people before it was okay to, they didn't get the green light. Kind of like the eco-terrorists. He's sort of like his own eco-terrorist in a sense, or maybe, I don't know, what would that be? Genome terrorist or something?
Yeah.
So genetic terrorist. Yeah. So we are being presented all the different domains by which there will be a struggle between the provocateurs or the sort of the vigilante types who are saying they're fighting for the same cause but kind of causing damage. A very useful tool for the controllers to actually come down and make legislation and rules and all that kind of stuff. So it's just the same playbook. But
there was also Jane Metcalf talking about transforming humans with mRNA platforms. So mRNA being another huge focus on that, and calling it guided evolution. And
didn't Moderna talk about engineering software, like talking about the mRNA as like, it's just like a software upgrade and that kind of stuff. So it kind
of fits into the whole of the human revolution, both transhumanism and sort of taking the reins on what humans not are, but ought to be.
Yes. Yeah. And we will be able to see the flaws right in our genetic code where we might be deficient in some place, and maybe we can borrow some genetics from others who are less deficient in those areas, and we shall mingle and become one mind. The no world government, though, we don't want that.
I wonder who this guy is and why he was the one that was chosen, or if he volunteered or what, because it seems like if they wanted to do this, they could have done it a long time ago, but why did they lie about it for so long? You know, there
was an industry built around it too. That's also something because it would be a great time to change all that because, you know, it is part of the Great Reset here. You know, you don't often. Ooh, interesting. I just looked up Leon Peshkin. Mm-hmm. He's a scientist working at the Systems Biology Department at Harvard Medical School. Mm-hmm. He was born in Moscow.
Oh, yeah. That is very interesting.